Okay, so we did we did this Mishnah, and we did. I think we started. I don't think we did the Gemara. No, we started the Gemara. We did till I think we're up to here. Harim Alolu. Just check. Yeah. Harim Alolu. These cities. Ein Bonim. Oh, my own Gemara here before I start. Second. Oh, took the wrong volume. Back. Actually, we're a little bit above that. We're up to Shloshes. The Shilashta, I should say. Read it right over here. The Shilashta. They have to make the borders equal. The distance equal. Shum Sholoshos. They should be in equidistant. They should be Hebron. It says Yehuda, but the name Moshe changed it Ladorom from Hebron, which is the southernmost city of the Ari Mikla, to the southernmost boundary of Eretz Yisrael. There should be Mechem L'Shchem, like this is Mechem L'Shchem, which is the next one. Mechem L'Shchem, Mechem L'Kadesh, which is the most northernmost city on the west bank of the Jordan River, and really from, though it doesn't say it, from Kadesh until the northern boundary, the distance between the other cities. So those have to be regular intervals. If one of them fell down, you build it up again. And you build it, here it says the Pnei Moshe changes it a little bit. Let's see the Pnei Moshe here. Where is it here? Over here, Nafla Chas. Nafla Chas made over here. Well, over here. Tosefta has a bit more than it has over here. It says Boni Mosa Milkema, you rebuild in its place. How you know they even build it somewhere else? In other words, if you can't build it in the same place, you build it somewhere a different location. So Talmudama Sheish Orim. Six, there should always be 6 cities, no matter what. Also shave it. You should always build it back in the same shave it where it was previously. But if you can't, they should exist. In other words, regardless of whether it can be in the same shape or not. And also, they should be the same, even if they're different shape. You should make them that from north to south, they are equidistant, like we had the original ones. You might move it a little bit to the north, to the east, or to the west, because some extenuating circumstances, and maybe they'll be in a slightly different shape than it was previously. But they should be staggered regularly in intervals from north to south, like the original ones. Okay. Back over here to the Gemara, Arim Alolu. Over here, Arim Alolu, Ein Boni Mosam Lo Krachim Gedolim. You don't build them to big metropolises, very large cities. Moshe explains that's if there's too big, then people are going to be traveling there all the time. going to be a lot of foot traffic in the city, and the Goel Adam could slip in unnoticed and blend in with the crowds, and then go and kill the Rotseach. Lawyers kitanos, and you don't make them small cities because they're too small. There's not going to be enough parnasa for the people who are living there, including the Rotseach, and you want them to be able to have a good income without having to move elsewhere. El Benonios, medium cities. El Ala Shuk. And in a similar vein, they have to be built on a marketplace. If there is no marketplace, you make a marketplace there. That's have to be built near water, right? Same principle. Ain't Shamayim, Mevim Shamayim. You have to bring them extra if there's no water supply. You have to make water supply. Nismatu the Uram. What if the amount of people who live there got diminished? There aren't as many people as there were. You have to bring other people to live there. There was always have to have a steady supply of people to make the city viable. So the next line is very interesting. So here the Pnei Moshe says very interesting. What does it mean? There's no population. It's not about in the city itself, but Svivosarim around the cities. There's got to be populations in the villages of Yeshub and in the areas surrounding that area. So evidently, somehow that's a buffer. I don't know exactly how, but it prevents the people, the Golei Adam, from being able to come with an army. I guess if you didn't have surrounding villages, the Golei Adam were able to appear in the opening of the Ir Miklat with a big army and conquer the city. So this they have to have surrounding cities which act as a buffer to impede any armies of Golei Adam from coming to them. An interesting idea. You can't make inside the Ir Miklat a Beis Abad, which is an olive press, or Beis Absira war wine press, because that's going to become a hub of activity, and I guess too much activity is a bad thing, because then the Goel Adam is going to come in, sneaking among other people to use the presses. Rabbi Nechemia, that's what it say it's okay. I guess it does still. You know, you have to have parnasa. That's part of having a decent parnasa in the city. You don't make ropes in the city. I guess ropes are a weapon which you use to strangle and suffocate people. So you don't make a rope industry in the city. And also you don't make glass. Don't make a glass industry there. I guess also glasses could be turned into a weapon. But anyway, the Shil argues the regular Shom. It says that these industries might be profitable, but we don't want people to come in and use these industries. And I'm assuming again that it's not just because they're busy industries, but because these things can be weaponized and used in order to attack the Adam, attack the Rotzeach. Rabbi Yochanan sent a message to the rabbis in Bavel, right? The Rabbanim, Tamon, when there was a sword, sent a message to rabbis in Bavel. Tartei Milin, the two things are two numberin that you say, the Shem Rav, in the name of the Abora Rav, the Leisin okay, they're not true. They're incorrect. First one is Atunarim B'Shem Rav, you say the name of the Rav, you fast Toar, woman which you capture in war, Lo Itiruba Elabil Rishoina Bavad. They only allowed the first bia. In other words, you can have relations with her when you capture in war. You can have relations with her for the first time before you're Megayah her. And then you have to be Megayah, like it says being a Parsha Kitetza. Vani Omer, lo bilo Rishayim, lo bilo Achroina. No. I say, Rabbi Yochanan says, I'm more machmir. I say you can't have any bia with her. You can't have any relations with her. El Achro Masim. Until after she goes through all the things listed beginning in Parsha Kitetza. She's got to convert. She's got to mourn for 30 days. Only after this came relations with her. So according to Rabbanan, you can have the first relations with her on the battlefield. And then you have to Megayah her. According to Rabbi Yochanan, no. You have to first bring her home and do all the stuff, and only then can you have relations with her. Afterwards, because it says in the pasuk, afterwards you have relations with her, after all the stuff that you have to do. Okay? That's the first thing to say in the name of Rab, and that's incorrect. Nothing saying name Rab. After Shem Rab, you're saying name Rab. Suffer Yoav Shekanos is back Coletes. Yoav was the kid when David Melch was dying. He told Shlomo his son, "Make sure to have Yoav killed. Yoav, my general. He did so many bad things in my lifetime. That he killed Avner and Amasa, and you have to have him killed." So what Yoav did when he heard he was going to be killed, he ran and he seized onto the horns of the Mizbeach, and he thought that that's going to save him from being killed, at least temporarily. So you say name around the Sabbath Yom Shekanos is back Coletes. At the that the horns of Mizbeach, you grab onto them. That's enough already. That you can be that you all thought that's enough to be safe, right? The Eino Kolate Ela Gago, and they was making a mistake. Was no, it's not true. You can't. The horns of Mizbeach, holding onto the horns doesn't save you. You have to be on top of the Mizbeach. You have to be on the roof of the Mizbeach. So Shiloh Kolate, also another mistake was that the rooftop of he thought that the rooftop of Shiloh, Shiloh being the Mishkan, is. Okay. He thought the rooftop of Shiloh is kolate. In other words, even the Mishkan, the Mizbeach it saves you if you get held on to Mizbeach. The Eno kolate elagag should be actually here the instead of what it says here Shabes Lami Eno kolate, it should say the Eno kolate ela Shabes Lami. Only the one in the base of Mikdash saves you from being killed. They're not the one in Shiloh. So Yod says, I disagree. That's not what this is saying. The name Rav is not correct. So Zermani Omer, lo mizbeach kolev lo gago kolev. Nothing. His mistake was he thought anything is kolev. No part of mizbeach in either place saves a murderer from having to be from being put to death. Lo mizbeach kolev lo gago kolev. Not the mizbeach, not its roof below shel shilo kolev below shel beislon kolev. Nothing saves the murderer. Ein lecha kolate ella sheish arei mikla. The only thing which saves you is the 6 arei mikla, which is totally wrong. It's not just that he made a mistake. Which part of the mizbeach saved you, which it doesn't. No part of the mizbeach saves you. It's a mistake. Only arei mikla save you. Now arei mikla can save even Rotzeach b'mezid until he gets taken to Beis Din. But they don't save you permanently, obviously, for Rotzeach b'mezid. But in any event, the Mizbeach doesn't do anything. So when I ask Abbott's question, he says he was a very wise person. He was Takimoni, he was full Chachma, and was the head of the third here, Chazal say, taking to understand the third Beis Din. There were 3 Batei Din in Yerushalayim, and he was head of one of the 3 Batei Din. Not clear the third one's the highest one of the 3 or the lowest one of the 3. But he was head of Sanhedrin. He's a very chashuv Talmid Chacham. He could have made such a mistake, possibly. How do you not know? So Amray Tanchuma L'Sanhedrin Baruch. So in fact, he says, you know what? He didn't flee to the Mizbeach. He fled to the Sanhedrin. Why? Because he wanted to be judged by the Sanhedrin, not by the king. He wanted not to be put to death by Shlomo, but he's put by death by the Sanhedrin. What's the difference? Because we learned. Haruke Beis Din Yichseim Yorshim. People are killed by Beis Din, their property goes to their heirs. When the person is put to death, one of the Arba Mitzvahs Beis Din, his property is not seized by Beis Din, his property goes to his children, whoever inherits it. But Aruge Malchus, people are killed by the king because they're married by Malchus, they rebel against the king, the Salem Malchus. Their property goes to the king. That he didn't want. Amar, you have mutav regla Beis Din. Better for me to be killed in the Beis Din by Sanhedrin. Yushuni Banai, my children will inherit me. Melech, and the king shouldn't kill me, because then he's going to inherit me. Because that he fled to the Sanhedrin. Okay, the Malbim on the Psukim on the in Mishpatim, he wants to in the Chumash, he wants to say that he did accomplish that by going to the Mizbeach. In other words, it sounds to Yerushalmi that when he he didn't flee to the Mizbeach at all. He just fled directly to the Sanhedrin. But the Malbim wants to say, and I'm not sure, what the base would be, but he wants to say that the Mizbeach does save you to the extent, not that you're not going to be saved altogether, but that Sanhedrin is going to judge you and not the king. Perhaps because since the Mizbeach is in the Beis HaMikdash, it's like kind of not part of it's extraterritorial. It's not part of the Melech's domain. No, it's part of Sanhedrin's domain, but it's not clear that that's the case. The Bavli itself says that the Mizbeach is only kolet kohen b'avodoso. Only the Mizbeach only saves a kohen at the time he's doing the avoda. Otherwise, you take him away from the Mizbeach. Okay, but again, the Pasuk telling the Yerushalmi is he didn't actually go to the Mizbeach. He went to the Beis HaMikdash. He went to the Beis HaMikdash where the Sanhedrin sits on Lishkas HaGazis. There was no Beis HaMikdash at that time yet, of course, but wherever the Sanhedrin was sitting at the time, near the Mizbeach, that's where he fled. Okay, so Kad Shama Shlomo came. When Shlomo heard, this is what happened. Amar said, I need his money. Forget it. I just want to get rid of him. Let him keep his money. Let his family keep the money. Vasirosi the meichinam. I want to remove the stain of the blood that he spilled for no good reason. But I'm not gonna. His money is not free. Meaning, I'm not taking away his money. His blood is free to me. I want the blood he spilled for free. I have no interest in whatever money he got. So he sent Benayo, his own general, who then killed Yoav, like Rebbe Beis Midbar. And he buried him in his house in the desert. So ask more of Midbar Beso. Was his house in a desert? Well, who lives in a desert? El Amedcha. But to teach you, Shekevon Shemei Shlom Yoav Sar Tzava Yisrael Nasi Yisrael Midbar. Once Yoav died, then the Jews became Midbar. And Bnei Moshe explains what does it mean Midbar. He says over here, Sheidnitu Atovos Mehem, all a bunch of good stuff which they were deprived of. Like we're going to explain what great things Yoav did. That now they lost all that good stuff. In Tamar, could be one or two things, says the Gemara. In Tamar Sheh Bozes, either that when he used to loot money from the Jews' enemies, Ubonalam used to build for them Yumsos Merchotzos, used to build for them places to different types of bathhouses, for them. In other words, for public health and public welfare. That's a great thing. Shevach. But so there's another version being Tamar. Some say that he used to take whatever loot he used to get from other nations and used to support Talmidei Chachamim with that. Shevach Shvachim, that's an even higher madrig. So he was doing something great with all of the loot which he got from nations of the world, and therefore now that he was killed, that great advantage, whether it was for the nation in general or for the Talmidei Chachamim, they lost that advantage. Now we're going back to what we said before, that the Sanhedrin was by the Mizbeach, and that's why he says when he went to Mizbeach, according to again Pasuk Yerushalmi, now like the Malbim, when he went to Mizbeach means he went to the Sanhedrin. Because it says Lo Salem Ma Lo Samizbechi. Says the end of Parshas Yisro, don't go up on steps on the Mizbeach, make a ramp. And Milim Maksiv and someone would say Mili after the Parshas Mishpatim, then Yishvat Yosher Sim Lifneim. There's the judgments you should put in front of the Sanhedrin. So we see that there's a connection between the Sanhedrin. Even before the base section was built, the Sanhedrin would sit in close proximity to the Mizbeach. Tani Rabbi Lezer Ben Yaakov. Mikla Ksir Parshas Drachim used to be signposts on all the crossroads that they should be able to know where to go. They should rest a custom. They should see the sign. Bolech and go to the Ir Mikla. Amar Abi Ovav. Rabbi said, "Kamin Yada somewhere else Masaderach." It was like a hand. Sometimes you see that the signs which have a point, like a pointer on them. So the sign, and I guess to make sure that it was clear which way to go, they would put it like a pointer of some sort on the sign. Amar Pinchas, Tobi Ashar Lama. It says, Tobi Ashar Hashem, Akein Yerecha Toim B'derech. Hashem is good and straight, and that's why he shows sinners which way to go. So, what does it mean? What Tofi Ashar? Why do you say both? So, who Tov Shiyashar? He's good because he's straight. So you take a look at Pnei Moshe. He says, "Elamu Tov Shiyashar." Klamar, the Kashale Kra Dichsiv Tobi Yasharu, Tobi Yasher Shayach Etzel Bnei Adam. He says the question is that Tobi Yasher is saying which is by people. Kedosh is out in this past week's parsha. He says, "Sisa Tobi Yasher Bnei Hashem." Parshas Rei says, "There's the Tov Bnei Shemaim." Shosek Kedin. Rashi brings it down there. The Tov is in Shemaim. Yasher is the evening Mishras, and actually, the Rashi says. Tov is towards Hashem, and Yosher is towards other people. But anyway, the point is that at least part of that is only relevant for human beings, right? Basically says that, yeah. Tov Zemein Shemaim Shul Sekadin, Yosher Lifnim Shledim, but Yosher Bnei Adam. Okay, he elaborates on the Rashi. He says Tov is the Shemaim, and Yosher is to other people. But everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is, so to speak, the name of Dinu Oseh. The Miyamal for the Beniv, because Hashem has to be merciful, otherwise he would be able to stand in judgment before Hashem. Dorish Hachi. So everybody does like this. Tobi Yashar Hakol Yonecha. Tobi Yashar in this case means all talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All of his midos are rachamim, and all of them leave him mishra sadin. Lamo tov shu akol yashar. Shu tov. Why is he good? Because he's straight. Why is he straight? Because he's good. Rosh Enel Miskayim Bedin Kedemesik Vaz, and he saw that the world is not going to be sustained in the with just din. So therefore, he does everything with midas harachamim. Where it's not two things. Tov is for Hashem, Yashar for people. But everything is Tov Yashar. Everything he does is living in Mishra Sadin. Now, so the Bnei Moshe is a little bit difficult, but let's go a bit further, and we'll see perhaps a better explanation. But in any event, right? That he shows them a pathway of tshuva, and that relates here to the Ir Mikla, because Baruch Hu says, "Show them the way." Tov Hashem, he's good and he's Yashar, then that he shows people go towards the Ir Mikla and make sure they're signs. But that it's about derech tshuva in general, right? So if you take a look here at the Baz, it says Amra Papa Tobi Yashar Shamar derech tshuva. Oh, the my Baz here. My side drash a drash brings this drash over here. That Kasuva Zendi drash nami. Because besides telling us it tells people to do tshuva, it also tells us the morach hatoim, but derech are a miklat. Like I just said, there's two meanings. Derech tshuva and derech are a miklat. So of course, miklat kamiklat kaminyan canal. It said miklat on crossroads or like a hand. They frach mesakana shegol adam. People should be able to flee from the danger of a gol adam. Okay, maybe a drasha. Therefore, brings this drasha. He shows the sinners, including the murderers, the way to do tshuva, to flee from the avera, and likonis l'tshuva, and to come and do tshuva. Hashem shows us the way. Kind of like just making it Yom Yom, right? Elu comes before Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur to show us the way we should do tshuva in order to be zoche bedin. Okay. Now the next Gemara stresses that tshuva is a tremendous chiddush, because really, once you did something wrong, what good does it do tshuva? You did something wrong. The reality is you did something wrong. It's how can you go back and change something which you actually did? It's a tremendous chiddush, and that's why we want to tells us the following agarata. Shalu chachma choyte ma'onsho. They ask chachma. They ask wisdom. What should be the punishment of a sinner? So Amalem chatoim teradei for all. Chatoim sinners should be pursued by their evil. Now in the there is the Shai Torah Saul brings down. Again. Sorry. What happened to it? Okay. So Shai Torah Saul brings down here. In other places, there's a longer version of this medrash, and I'm just going to read it to you. It says, "They shalu the Torah. They asked the Torah, Chote ma'onsho, what should be the punishment of a sinner? Amar Yavi Korban Skapalo. You be a Korban? Shemar Venir Solo. Then it'll be he'll find a favor if he brings Korban. Now, of course, Korban doesn't always work because if you're amazed, you can't bring a Korban. And of course, we don't always have Korbanos because those are based on Mikdash. So, then you have another part which Ramban brings down this medrash. Shalu leDavid. That's David Chote ma onshu. What should the punishment of a sinner be? And he answered them for Barchi Nafshi, which is the Shir Shayom of Rosh Chodesh. The sinner should be eradicated from the land. So David Amel says there's no hope. He sinned. What are you going to do? You have to eradicate him. You have to get rid of him. So now back to the Gemara, right? So Nevuah Chote ma'onsho. They asked the Nevuah what you do with the sinner. I never should ask Tamus. Same idea as David Amel. He's a sinning soul should die. So Kuchabrichu Chote ma'yaseh ma'onsho. They asked the Baruch Hu, what you the sinner Amalem Yaseh Tshuva b'Yisrael. So Tshuva, that's like Chazal say Tshuva was created 2,000 years before the world was created, meaning that Tshuva was a tremendous chiddush. It had to be created as a special bria to say that you can actually go back, even though you did something totally wrong, and make it as if it never happened, or even more so, if you do Tshuva me'ava, that's something which you did bad can become a merit for you if you approach it the right way, and becomes a reason for you to be over Hashem better in the future. So this is how Kodesh Baruch Hu's tremendous kindness. It doesn't work in Dinei Adam. If you committed a murder, Chas v'Shalom, and you did tremendous tshuva, Sanhedrin still has to put you to death, right? If you committed any other crime, you still have to get Malchus. Maybe you did it amazing, but Kodesh Baruch Hu says, that's B'dinei Adam. B'dinei Shamayim, everything tshuva works, and you can repair it, and that's a Kodesh Baruch Hu's tremendous chesed. V'ayin yichsiv. That's what it says. He shows the sinners the way. He says that Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to show people the way to do tshuva. Okay, he shows people. Kodesh Baruch Hu shows people the way to tshuva. Ktib, new medrash. It says like a bird to move. Gidjor la'uf, Gidjor is another type of bird which flies. And then the rest of the pasuk, Cain, so too, instead of ish no de mimkomo, the rest of the pasuk is kilas chacham lo tavo. The klola of a chacham doesn't come. Okay, Moshe brings that down over here. Steve can't kill us chinam. Sorry, not chacham. Because chinam lo savo. Just like a bird flies from place to place and drawer flutters from place to place, a curse which was for no good reason is not going to take effect. It says Gemara, but okay. It's a question. Can you say that that's true? So Bnei Moshe explains what's the question. It's a question on our Mishnah. The Tanya, it says Kadesh lo yispalu ab name shlei musa, that the mothers of Kohanim Gedolim would support the murderers that they shouldn't daven is their children should die. What? How would the tefillah of the murderers work? How could they possibly have the impact of Kohen Gadol? The Kohen Gadol should die. A curse which is not present doesn't deserve it, it's not going to take effect. So Gemara gives a fascinating answer, which the Bavli says that the Kohen Gadol should have davened. If he would have davened enough, then his chus would have been effective. Then nobody would ever murder anybody by mistake. That's what the Bavli says. But the Yerushalmi says differently. The Yerushalmi says, there's sometimes when the time is right, when tefillah can be accepted, even though it's not deserved. It's kind of the opposite of what, or I shouldn't say it's not the opposite. It's similar to what it says about Bilam. That Bilam knew the precise time at which Hashem got angry, and he would be mechaven. He wanted to be mechaven at that time in order to curse Ham Yisrael, and then a kilas chinam could come, right? Even though the Ham Yisrael didn't deserve it, but it's the time Akash Baruch Hu got angry. And here, there's also this idea of an Eis Ratzon. In other words, there's certain times the tefillah can work, even though the tefillah is not deserved, but it's davened with such tremendous intensity and kavanah that's effective. And there's a Gemara like that in Brachos, which says it's not in the Gemara itself; it's in the Ein Yaakov. It's a different version of our Gemara. It says, "Ganav apumach data rachmana kari." Says that a ganav a burglar before he goes to burgle a house, to break into a house, he davens to Hashem. And the Gemara seems to indicate that his tefillah was such great kavanah at that time, because he's about to put himself in this tremendous danger, and he's really sincere in his tefillah that he should be safeguarded from his danger, that his tefillah is heard. In other words, there's an eight sweat so for a tefillah to be heard, even if the tefillah is not for something which we would think it should be heard. So that's what happens here too. See, it could be it's accepted, a time when it's time when people say it's accepted. It's about to say that there's certain times for tefillah when it be accepted, even from people like this. I know my tefillah is not always accepted, but maybe naturally, but perhaps they can get an Eis Ratzon and then be accepted. Okay, so let's see inside. The times for tefillah. In other words, there's certain times the tefillah can be accepted, even if it's not times which are necessarily. Tefillahs are not the ramifications are negative. So again, it's possible to explain it like Bilam. And the Mashbiach on this page says that like it's going to time when there's Hashem is angry, but it's also quite possible that somebody has there's a time when tefillahs which are sincere, even if they're the wrong purpose, that's a tremendous koyach tefillah, and it works. Okay, so he says Zaymer says. My tefillah should be accepted to you as if it's an Eis Ratzon. In other words, it should be Eis Ratzon because I know not all tefillahs are accepted at all times. May my tefillah be like may it be an Eis Ratzon. When I daven, then my tefillah should be accepted, whether it normally will be accepted or not, but now it should be accepted. Okay, I see. All of a sudden we lost the other two people. So I guess we'll stop here for today. I think one more day and we'll finish all the Gemara. Anyway, there's only an Amud left of the Gemara. Okay, so I guess we'll stop here. All right. Have a good night.